What's up? I want to share with you a simple, straightforward two-word copywriting lesson that I got from Clayton Makepeace. And this is one of those things where it's super simple when you think about it, when you step back, but in the actual process of writing out a piece of copy, it's so easily missed. And so sometimes it takes someone like Clayton saying, "Hey, Roy, you're kind of missing this element here. And so you should probably fix that and your copy will be better." And me, I'm just passing it on to you to use in your copywriting. So first, a little bit of background here. I worked with Clayton, he was one of my OG copywriting heroes. So when I got started in copywriting in 2005, 2006, that was about the time that he was publishing the Total Package, which was maybe the first daily copywriting email. And Clayton would put out articles that he wrote. He would put out articles that his copy cubs wrote. And just every day he was giving us so much value. And he was somebody that I looked up to from essentially the beginning of my copywriting career. And my opportunity to work with him was kind of like my opportunity to work on the Titans promo, where it was just like one of my absolute heroes. And Clayton actually, I believe he had some kind of pre-scheduled conflict, so he wasn't able to present at Titans the direct response. But my understanding is that Brian Kurtz did ask him because he's absolute Titan. So, eventually I got the opportunity to work with Clayton. We worked on a few projects together. We made a few million in sales together. And I got lots of little lessons inside the copywriting feedback that Clayton gave me. And man, just so many object lessons and what it takes to be a good marketer and good copywriter. But this one, this was a fairly simple, smack myself on the forehead because I can't believe that I missed it. And yet it's brilliant, it's clear, it's a reminder of something you always need to be doing. And so the two words that you need to know, that you need to remember, these are not necessarily words to use in your copy, although they can be used in copy, the words are, that means. Okay, cool. I'll explain. So the context of this feedback is I was writing an investment promo, and if you're familiar with investment promos, usually you have a few stories in there where it's this company had this performance or this thing happened with this company and here's what happened to the stock, right? And it's fairly straightforward. It's fairly standard in investment promos. And seeing the chart go up and to the right, that's great, right? And you can say, oh, this had 500% return, 583% return, or this one had 1,297% return, or whatever the numbers are, right? And then you can even layer onto that, turning every $10,000 into $12,047 or $470 or whatever. I'm not remembering the exact numbers that I used, but again, it's extrapolating. There was this return, and there was this potential gain, right? One of the things that I completely missed on that was making sure to come back to you, the reader, the person who was maybe going to be an investor in opportunities like that, right? And so I can say all of this stuff that's kind of third person, where this stock did this, had this performance, and these returns were possible, and this stock had this performance, and these returns were possible. But then it's important to always come back and say, and here's what that would have meant for you. And you can talk about it in dollar terms, or you can talk about it in lifestyle terms. You can talk about it in experience terms. You can talk about it in stuff that you could have bought terms, right? But the important part is you always want to come back and make sure the prospect knows what that means to them, right? And the lesson in the feedback, it goes back to Claude Hopkins. It goes back to John E. Kennedy, Reason Why Advertising, right? Ultimately, we are selling in media, right? Is sales multiplied through media. That's what copywriting, that's what advertising is, right? And one of the most fundamental rules of selling is that your prospect always wants to know what's in it for me. And it's a smart thing to do as a copywriter to remind yourself that this is something that the prospects always want to know. And at some point after you've put in all the proof and all the logic and details of the promotion that you wanted to include, you need to flip that and you need to say, okay, did I do a good job of making sure that I was always connecting this back to the reader, the prospect's life experience and what's actually in it for them? And, simply asking yourself, and, what does that mean, right? That means that's going to be a pretty powerful way to make sure that you're including those interesting, those things that keep the prospect feeling like it's relevant to their life. And here's why this is so important for copy in A-list markets like financial, right? In the financial publishing world, it's a hyper aware market, and these people have been sold every promise under the sun, every benefit under the sun. They have been disappointed a million times by all the promises that they were sold that didn't get fulfilled. And you just can't lead promos in that market with promises and benefits. And it's indirect copy for the win, right? Indirect copy is what works best in these markets. And so inherently, you are not opening with a big, bold promise of some result because they don't believe it, right? So you have to find the story. And by story, I don't necessarily mean a personal story, personal narrative in the way that you might see in other markets, right? I mean any kind of story, and especially news or almost advertorial style, but not that advertorial format, where you're talking about some market condition is developing, some new technology is being introduced, all of these advertorial style formats. I've heard it called a documercial, right? Where it's part documentary. It opens like a documentary, but then it turns into a commercial, similar to infomercial, right? And the exact format can vary, right? But the main point is that the approach of the copy is to come from somewhere that is not promises and benefits, that only mildly hints at the bigger promises and benefits, and then transition that to the point where it is where ultimately what's happening is you are making it about the promises and benefits for the reader. And being able to say that means, right, finding those appropriate points in your copy where you say, and what does that mean for the person who is watching this, listening to this, reading this, whatever? And making sure that you answer that question in a way where it is compelling and where it demonstrates the promises and benefits that you're trying to convey. Well, that's going to make your copy much better. And so you must always remember to bring it back to that, to your prospect, to your reader. So your call to action at the end of this episode, number one, ask yourself how you can use this, right? How is it appropriate for you to use this in your copy going forward? Don't forget to like and subscribe so you get more content like this delivered to you. And I'm going to go ahead and include a link with this episode to my private copy review service, where you can have that opportunity like I got from Clayton to have me take a look at your copy and go through it line by line and tell you how it, the best ways for you to improve your copy. And as you can see, going forward, this can have a lifetime of benefit for your skill as a copywriter. So I'm Roy Furr. This is Breakthrough Marketing Secrets, and I'll catch you again in the next episode. See you soon. Bye. Thank you once again for tuning in to this daily episode of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Remember, check out the links with this episode for even more value. Now make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and engage in every way you can to keep this show going and growing and delivering daily value to you. I'll catch you soon for your next big breakthrough.